All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the third episode of our Tip It Out Golf podcast. I'm joined here today by Mac Belovich. What's up, Mac?
I'm good. How are we doing tonight?
Good, brother. Good, brother. And also Ben Foltz. Ben Foltz, how you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good.
Hopefully still good.
I'm doing just as good as when Mac asked me the question. And then, of course, your host here this evening, Evan Ferrara. We're joining you guys live from the very back tee box at TPC Sawgrass, getting ready to kick off our birdie and bogey segment that we try to do each week, and definitely a players heavy focus for everybody today. I'll kick it off with my birdie of the week. We'll kick it off on the light note. Scotty Scheffler, dominating.
Wonderful.
Dominating. That dude is on fire. I have him as my birdie of the week. I just want to list you guys some stats real quick. So in 2023, here are his past 8 starts. At the Hero World Challenge, 2nd. Tournament of Champions, 7th. American Express, 11th. Wins the Waste Management Phoenix. T12 at the Genesis. 4th at Arnold Palmer. 1st at the Players. This dude's highest finish in 2023 is 12th. Just absurd golf, absurd consistency.
Do we have a new buoy? Do we have a new buoy?
we might have a new buoy, honestly. I mean, he's back to world number 1 too, so he's feeling pretty good.
I'm loving this 3-way race. Rory, maybe not Rory, but definitely 2-way race at the top for world number 1. It's making for a really interesting season.
They're just what we're seeing from Rahm and Scheffler is just their dominance above even other great players. They're a step above everybody else, and it's really crazy to watch. And Scotty, holy shit, is he good?
They're playing out of their mind. It's unbelievable to watch them play this consistent, good golf, and it's across the board too. It doesn't matter if you place them at TPC Sawgrass or anywhere
it's
else.
So wild that you can play
Riviera, no matter where.
It's so wild that you can play. He can play that consistent, and his feet move 12 inches every time he freaking swings. I mean,
they move the same 12 inches every time, I guess.
It's unbelievable.
I guess so. So just kicking it off, hell of a win, Scotty. My other birdie was, I don't know if you guys saw Terrell Hatton's shot on 18. Did anyone see that second shot he hit? Blew his drive right, which is the logical thing to do on 18 at Sawgrass. And then hit this punch draw cut. I don't know what the hell it was, through all of the trees. Hit it to 10 feet, made the putt for birdie. It was awesome.
Yeah, and that was, I'll add on top of that, that was for a tied for the course record on the back nine, 29.
Yeah.
First one ever making that putt, making it too.
Yeah. So for making that putt was huge. Not only that, the approach shot was, majority of that battle, because getting it there is half.
Did you see him smile? They zoomed it. I've never seen the dude smile. He's always pissed off on the golf course, and he looks at his caddy and he's like, damn.
Actually, that's funny you mentioned that too, because they interviewed him after the round and they showed him that clip, and he was like, "Oh, you got to clip that because that's one of the only times I've ever smiled on the golf course." Yeah.
And on top of that, and on top of that, 18, they were saying on the broadcast, and it was very apparent, was 18 was a par hole. That, just plain and simple, that back pin was impossible to get to, especially with that wind, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I'll wrap it up here with my bogey, and then I'll pass it over to you guys. But couple balls in the water on 17 on Sunday, and this was the biggest purse of all time, PGA purse, and those water balls cost everybody a little bit of money. So I wanted to zero in it specifically on Aaron Rye. My man was set to make, if he makes par, he made a 6 on a triple bogey on 17. He makes par there, hits the green 2 putts. He walks away with $1 million for a T5 finish at -9. But with that triple, he walks away with $275,000. That's like a $700,000 water ball. I'm sure he's going to be thinking about that.
Don't forget to add the $4 for the Pro V.
$700,004 is what he wants.
That's unbelievable.
So
what a big time.
To you, Ben. Let's hear your birdies and bogeys.
All right, sure. I'll get it started with my birdie as well. I thought this was really funny. I was watching every moment of the Players. I've been big into watching golf this year, so I noticed this really funny moment with. Hopefully, I don't botch his first name. I think it's Emilio Grillo. Is that what it is?
Emiliano.
Make sure I pronounce. Yeah, Emiliano. Right, Emiliano. But either way, he on 17, he had a really funny moment here where like he hits this putt. It was I think it was on Thursday, so it was in that front pin location, kind of on the side of the hill, and he hits this like big sloping putt, and it's hanging on the edge. Like I'm telling you, just a little bit of wind, and that ball would have fallen in. But within the PGA Tour, there's this rule where once you get to the ball, you have 10 seconds, and then you have to tap it in. So he's like wandering around his playing opponent. He's like talking to his buddies, talking to the caddy. He's like trying not to walk up to the ball. So it's like they broadcasted the whole thing of him just, he's like wandering around the hole. He's like checking out stuff. He's like looking at his past line. Like, I can't believe I didn't make that, It's just, and he burns like 5 minutes just wandering around the green on 17. No, it never went in. It never went in. He had to walk up and tap it in. It would have been hilarious if it did drop. That would have been amazing. That would have been a true Eagle play right there, even. But I thought that was absolutely hilarious because I've actually seen a couple of guys in the tour do that where they, ball's hanging on the edge and they kind of fuck off and they just do whatever they want for like 5 minutes.
I know. Who was it? Who was it? Who was? I think it was like Sun Kang or something like that at Harbor Town. Or it might have been Siwoo Kim, but it was at Harbor Town. It was like on the first hole or whatever, and he did that, and he got the penalty assessed to him, like the stroke.
Really? The ball
and it still dropped, and it dropped.
He waited for so long that like they penalized him, but it dropped, so it was just like
it negated.
He would have tapped it in, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's unbelievable. So I guess Grillo should have been a little bit careful then in that case because he was on the clock. But either way, watching a PGA Tour. The guy just like in the middle of his round, just not really care, just wander around the green was hilarious. So I thought that was a big time birdie play. It was really funny to watch too. So my bogey play actually goes hand in hand with Farrar. So that's nice that you chose me next to go because Taylor Montgomery was in a similar situation where he was, let me think, he was 7 under. So he was tied for 16th or something and hit 2 balls in the water on 17 and dropped all the way down to 3 under. And now he's like, 36th or something like that.
Yeah.
So another terrible water scenario, but also
did he fuck up the hole before? Didn't he fuck up 16 too?
Yeah. So that's what I was getting to is he has a string of 3 holes here where he goes bogey on 15, which is understandable, but a bogey on 15 and then a double on 16 and then follows it up with a quad on 17. Which is brutal. That's a brutal way to finish your Sunday round.
Flexible burst, man. That's shooting yourself in your own leg with your own gun.
Shooting yourself directly in the nuts. That was horrible. And then I kind of had like a little side bogey, which was last week. My bogey play or in prediction or whatever was that Jon Rahm's at the top, but how long can he maintain it? So granted, he did get sick this week, but it was a withdrawal from a pretty big tournament. So, and he was also fighting to keep his number 1 spot from Scotty Scheffler. Yeah. So just a little side bogey of like, it kind of sucks that he had to drop out of the tournament. I was said last week that I'm bearish on Jon Rahm. I think I'm still bearish on Jon Rahm. So
definitely a situation to monitor.
Definitely a situation.
Yeah,
to monitor.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
I will be
Jon Rahm. If he's listening, which I know he is, we wish him a speedy recovery.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. I hope he's doing well. But at the same time, it's like, once you're at the top, there's only one place to go. So
you can only have so much new perspective. So
it's true.
Yeah. Well, and also everybody loves him, so he needs one person to play devil's advocate. So
yeah, there you go. Anonymous is always a bad thing.
I'll fill those shoes,
especially in predictions.
He can still kick my ass at golf, though. So,
all right, I'll round us out here with the birdies and bogeys.
Go for it.
My birdie of the week, hoagie sandwich, absolute just domination on the weekend, out of nowhere. Yep. Birdies 17 to make the cut at +2, then proceeds to shoot a course record or ties the record 62 on Saturday.
I think that's his course.
It was the new course record, 62. I
think
he made 11-foot eagle putt on 9 because they 1 in 10 start to finish his round to break the course record, and going from barely making the cut, basically missing the cut, making $0 to finishing in the top 5, I believe, and making $1.4 million, almost 1.5.
Jesus.
I mean, talk about a rally, folks. Like that is case in point rally. I don't even think.
I love when that happens. It's very rare for somebody to barely make the cut and also win the tournament.
Yeah.
It's only probably happened a handful of times, and that would have been awesome to see. I was rooting so hard for him all weekend.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw. There was a video of Colt Knost, who had a 63, and I think he had a share of the course record. There was a couple other 63s, and he's watching the putt, and he's like, "Don't make it, don't make it." And he's like, "Oh," when he makes it. We'll have to make sure we retweet that on our Twitter page. But
I love that.
was really fun.
Absolutely,
Colt Knost is the man.
Yeah, check it out at @TipItAllGolf on Twitter. We'll have the video retweeted there
for sure.
No infringement rights. PGA Tour has a heavy ban hammer.
We'll get banned 3 weeks into our podcast creation.
And then I have a little bit of a dark horse bogey, and it's the fringe around the greens, kind of by the water this week. The players, TPC Sawgrass usually always has that course in good condition, very punishable. But there were a lot of balls this week that should have gone in the water that did not go in the water. They got hung up pretty heavy in some of that fringe. And I mean, I get it. Like Max Homa hit, what a shot. That's a birdie in itself on hole 12, 305 yard ripper off the flagstick.
Smacks the flagstick.
Yeah, in the air, right? Or maybe one
bounce, but he hit the flag. Yeah,
basically went in the hole.
Yeah.
And it ricocheted so hard, but stayed out of the water. Yeah. I mean, that any other year that would have gone in the water. And then Scotty on hole 13, I want to say, or 4 or something like that.
Oh yeah, when it trickled. Yeah, it was trickling down.
It was trickling down and it got hung up. And a lot of players too were kind of in that spot.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Did not
really quick. That's really quick. I'll interject and say that I was watching it pretty close, and whenever they zoomed in on the greens, I was taking a look, and I was like, we went there for those who don't know, we've been to the players a couple times. You can see the course conditions up close, and it looks absolutely pristine. But when they zoomed into some of those greens, it didn't look up to par. It looked a little bit beat up, And I mean, a couple of players even had putts from off the green that were bouncing, and they couldn't control all the little humps and dips that are in some of those putts. So I wonder what happened that year. I actually did a little bit of research, but I couldn't find anything. So I don't know if that was
because a little bit of rain on Friday might have done kind of the cosmetics, but I think they're also trying to dry them out a little bit too. So
yeah. Interesting you mentioned that though, because I was thinking the same thing. Mm-hmm.
But the rough everywhere else was gnarly, and I was there for it.
That
really
was
punishable.
5 inches, 5-inch rough. That's unbelievable.
Insane.
You probably have a good grasp of how long 5 inches is too.
That should have been my birdie play. That one.
Ferrara's coming in hot tonight.
Yeah, coming in hot.
This dude's got.
He's feeling
locked
good.
and loaded.
He's in a goofy mood. That's a good place to be. It's a goofy mood when you're talking about golf. I love it.
And then I guess not necessarily my bogey, but this kind of leads us into our next topic of the players. Min Woo Lee. I mean, what happened that final round? My thought is he came out with this defensive strategy, maybe not with off the tee. He was ripping that 2-iron all week, so it's not there. But he only hit 2 drivers. He didn't hit them all that well. He wasn't really as aggressive as he was in the first 3 rounds, and that especially caused problems because what he would argue is the best part of his game, the wedges, just wasn't there today. No, he hit one in the water on 4 from 88 yards, and on 2, he had another wedge from 100 yards that was 40 feet, which is fine, but if that's your best part of the game, especially at the top level, playing at the top of your game, that should be within 20 feet from 100 yards, I would argue.
Yeah, I would say that it looked like he was playing very defensive. He was I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how many wins he has on the PGA Tour, so if he's won before, then I might be wrong.
He has 0 but on the PGA
okay,
Tour.
that's what I thought. But
he did win what? Did he win the Scottish Open last year? Or does he have an international win?
I think he has a couple international wins.
Oh, he's won a couple times on the DP World Tour, but never on the PGA Tour, I don't think.
Yeah.
Either way though, you could tell, it looked like he was in that situation for the first time. Like he was trying to play, here's a good example. Scotty Scheffler on 17, hits it middle of the green, good shot, but like if it cut a little bit, it would have been 5 feet, right? It looked like Min Woo on his rounds was trying to do that, but he wasn't doing it very well. And that's like never a good combo when you're playing golf because, like you said, Mac, if you have 79 yards in, you're going to be expecting that to be within 5 feet. I mean, these guys are so good that they're going to hit it close most of the time. But he was playing the defensive golf and then not capitalizing on his good defensive golf play. And
yes,
you can't do that. You're gonna fall behind. So
put all the pressure onto his wedges, and by playing defensive, like on 9, he could have hit like a high cut 3-wood into the green, but he chose to lay up to a wedge number. It doesn't get up and down for birdie, and it's just when you play defensive, and that's not usually maybe your strategy, then like all the pressure then just is all on your wedges, and obviously he didn't have it today. So
he did not stick to his guns to what got him to that situation. He played defensive and he held on for the ride, and his grip strength just wasn't enough.
I do want to comment on his golf swing because it is freaking awesome.
He's got a great
about like maximizing power out of like your body. Like that dude hits crazy ball speed. I watched him hit a 3-wood 182 ball speed, and that's like my best ever with a driver, and he's hitting that and he's reaching that with his 3-wood. I mean,
he hit his 2-iron like 300 a couple times.
Yeah, I mean it's love his golf swing, love his game. Hopefully we see him again in contention.
Really quick, just really quick. So sorry, but for some context here, Min Woo Lee he's 6 foot. He's 6 foot, and he's 165 pounds, and he's able to get that, which is around my height ish and weight. He's a little bit bigger than me. But either way, I'm getting like 165, max, and that's like swinging out of my shoes. So this guy is not only
smack factor of his body is like 1.6.
Yeah, he's like breaking the scale. It doesn't make any sense how he's getting all his power.
Yeah,
it's wild, and he's not built either. Like he's not, he doesn't look like he's he's not like Rory. Like he's not huge.
Yeah,
but he's still ripping it 180, 182 ball speed. It's crazy.
Absurd.
So really quick, something else I wanted to talk about here to keep this wonderful players talk going. Max Homa played very, very well. Max Homa's round was going really, really strong today. At one point he was 10 under, and then unfortunately going hand in hand with Farrar and I's bogey plays, dunked it in the water on 17 and ended with a double there. But I will say, if I didn't have a good birdie that I noticed on Thursday, I probably would have picked to be a bit bullish on Max Homa. I love this guy. He's really fun to watch. Talk about tempo too. He's got a great tempo. It stays exactly the same on every single shot, no matter what club he's got in his hand. It's crazy, really fun golf to watch there. So just want to interject. Yeah, exactly. I'm taking notes. I've already got the shoes. I'm taking notes now. So
he's got the premieres.
I'm learning lessons.
Hey, even after the round today, he still made his birdie. Fan asked him what his best pick. What's your best pickup line? He goes, "I don't need one, big dog."
I love it. Was that it? Was that at a post round interview?
It was that, where they have all the kids get autographs signed. A kid asked him,
like
in the line, like, "Hey, what's your best pickup line?"
And he goes, "I don't need one."
He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm married with a kid.
I
don't need a pickup line. I'm all set."
He's great.
And then literally right after that, some dude's like, "No, don't sign my flag, sign my forehead." So he signed some old dude's forehead, just to add the cherry on top.
That's the one where you look at the mom and dad and just like get the nod, and then you sign the forehead.
You're like, "Well, are you sure you want me to do this?" Yeah. And they're like, "Yeah,
and
whatever he wants." Okay.
On top of funny events, I just literally right before we started, I finally found the video with Keith Mitchell, on I think it was hole 2 or whatever, where he hits his tee shot, and as soon as he hits his tee shot, makes a massive divot, slams the driver into the ground, creates this huge crater. And then while the ball's in the air, the suspended play horn sounds.
And then not long after, ball just goes straight into the water.
Yeah. He goes, "Does it carry?" And the caddy's like, "No, dude, it did not carry." You just have to walk off, and then you just have to walk off the course after that, I guess, right?
That's hilarious.
Oh my god.
What day was that? Was that on Thursday or something? Or Friday.
Whatever day they got cut, I think it was Friday. Yeah, they finished Saturday morning.
Yeah. Okay. That's hilarious. I didn't see that either. That's really funny.
It's a series of misfortunate events.
Yep. Yeah.
It's good to see a little fire in the guys. Like they care too. Like the force in which he slammed his driver was pretty.
The club head speed must have been at least over 100.
Yeah.
I want to get the TrackMan on that. Let's get some data on that club slam right there.
Yeah.
I think that could have been pretty good.
Efficient use of the body, just like Min Woo Lee.
Yeah, talk about power transfer. The smash factor club slam.
Who has the fastest club head speed on a club throw or a club slam? Like who's got
Rory at the RAL at the Cadillac WGC Cadillac on hole 8.
Yeah, where
threw the 3-iron in the pond.
Yeah.
And the broadcast was going through a swing like that was a great weight shift right there.
Yeah. The form really tucks the elbow in and turns the hips and gets
like smash factor 1.45. Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. Somebody else another year, I wish I knew who, but throws a club on the PGA Tour right after like the TrackMan picks it up, and then the TrackMan picks up him throwing his club. I don't remember who it is, but it's hilarious. Yeah. Absolutely hilarious. There's so many good moments like that too, where somebody shanks a shot a little bit, and the TrackMan is just like a tiny little line that just goes into the woman's tee, 100 feet in front of them. It's perfect. They're human too.
They're human.
You gotta remind yourself.
What else we got?
I think like although the scores were low, it was cool to see the wind blow at the players. A gust in the 20-mile-an-hour range definitely caused some drama on 17, which was fun. I think
really quick, this was a good combo. Getting the 16, 17, 18 finish at Sawgrass plus pretty much the worst conditions we've seen this year yet. That was
the highest like steady winds. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, high steady winds, a little bit of rain. Like something to give the players something to think about.
Yeah, I think it's not easy playing with that much wind. Like your game has to change. You have to adjust to the conditions, and you have to hit some different shots when the wind starts to blow like that. So, Mac, why don't you kick us off here with our little wind segment, and maybe take me through like what's the wind doing to the golf ball? Like what's the root cause of having to change your game around the wind when it gets
absolutely. I think no matter when you play, even if it's 0 no wind on any given day, you're still going to get a little bit. And it's definitely one of the biggest factors when it comes to playing golf. And I think it's definitely something to really nail down, because it can shave strokes very quickly if you just have a little bit of understanding of what the wind does and how it affects your ball. And like you said, a few things, like I have a few notes basically about just some general ideas about the wind. And into the wind, I think is probably one of the hardest ones to deal with, because you don't get to hit the ball as far, and that's no fun. But why does the ball not go very far when you're into the wind? One, because it's blowing something backwards. That's the end of the day. But
physics,
basic physics.
Science.
We're in physics 101 right now, guys. Welcome to class.
Take me to school, Mac. Take me to school.
But basically, also some other into the wind things is it makes your misses bigger. It makes the ball spin more. So if you do hit a fade, it's gonna fade more because the wind's pushing it, and it's gonna kind of go that way farther. Same with the draw, obviously. But also it causes, I don't know if it necessarily causes the ball to backspin more, but it causes your ball to balloon. So meaning it'll get higher, it'll be on the right trajectory, and then it'll spin up and then fall.
And it all has to do with spin, Mac. You're 100% right.
It is. Okay, so backspin.
Into the wind is just going to amplify whatever spin you have on the ball. So if you naturally have put cut spin on the ball, the spin is going to increase, and there's going to be more cut spin, so it's going to cut more. Same thing with draw, and just naturally with your spin's going to increase, so the ball does float and rise when it spins a lot like that. So good point.
And that's not only into the headwind too, right? Like I think even if it's coming off of your left side a little bit, it's still going to amplify the spin and take it farther in one direction. It might even push it farther in the direction if you kind of match the wind in its own direction.
Yes. And also, and like you said, so like the side breeze is in my opinion harder. Maybe not necessarily for the majority of golfers, but for me, especially when when you have a side breeze and it's at your back when you're addressing the golf ball, you feel, for me personally, I feel like I can't get the club head through. So, and so I'll end up hitting a cut when it's, for me, left-handed or right to left wind.
Right.
And that just means the ball's just going to go off the planet left. Right. So so when I'm hitting a cut that is with the wind, it's going to go, the ball will go farther, but it'll also move farther in the side direction.
Yeah.
But if I was to hit like a draw into the wind, into a side breeze, so it's going, the shot shape is going against the wind.
Yep.
It's actually going to take distance off, and it's not going to cut as much. So, which is actually a really good shot to have, and it was visible today on a couple holes on, I think, like 14, and maybe a few others. I think definitely 14, but they were holding. You notice the announcers were saying they were holding their shot. They're holding the cut into the wind. I think it was on 17 too.
Yep.
Like Hideki hit that hybrid that flew the green, and that was my bogey play. Got caught up in the rough. Should not have. But he held that cut. He held a cut into the wind, so it stayed straight, but it didn't go as far.
Right, it took some distance off it, but yeah,
exactly.
That's
but
right.
He nuked it, so it went 20 yards over the pin.
Yeah.
He just caught it too well. And then I guess the last one of kind of what does the wind do to the ball is downwind, and then this one's always fun. I'm sure everybody's heard the phrase "tee it high, let it fly," and that is because the ball falls out of the air faster when you're downwind. So the idea is to get more loft on it, get it higher, launching higher so that it rides that wind more versus just falls out of the air, because it'll take spin off. So it won't kind of cut or draw as much, but it will cause it to dive a little bit.
For sure.
Right. So if you're not focused on your altitude, then with some wind behind you, the ball is going to just fall out of the sky. Like if you hit a nice, punch shot or something, that ball is going to just nail the ground and then run a bunch. But if you kind of launch it up into the air, it's going to take the wind for as long as it possibly can and then fall out of the sky. So you're going to maximize your distance.
I like that.
You'll actually, in some cases, like when you're downwind, if you don't get it up in the air, your club will actually go shorter than what it usually does. But yeah.
Let me. I really want to dig into the wind shot, because I think that's, for most golfers, a very uncomfortable shot, and it's a very hard shot to execute. And I don't know who wants to take this, but I guess my question is, like, when you are playing like a one club wind into your face, what do you do? What do you do different? It's a par 3. Let's say 7-iron. It's a 165-yard hole, and let's say you hit your 7-iron 165 yards. One club wind into your face. How do you play that shot?
I could take this if you want. This is a fun shot, especially for me. I've got some older equipment, so it's a little bit extra spinny. I probably get like 400 extra, on the number side of spin. So the spin is through the roof for me. So the end of the wind shot is a lot more challenging for a golfer like me, who's you got some older equipment. But what I focus on is, I think step one is commit to a shot. If you're straight into the wind, you can't be out here guessing of like, okay, well, maybe I'll hit a cut into this pin, or maybe I'll hit a high draw, or maybe I'll try to hit it low a little bit. You got to pick a shot and commit to it, because the problem, as we just talked about with hitting a shot straight into the wind, is if you don't know what the ball is going to do, it's going to be amplified by 10. So if you're hitting a high fade, or you want to hit a high fade and you don't, that draw is going to be gone left. Like, it's going to be so far left. And if you're aligned for a fade and you end up hitting a little bit of a draw, you could kiss that ball goodbye. So I think that's step one for me, is in my pre-shot routine, is really commit to a shot, pick the shot that I want and commit to it. And then on top of that, now that I have my shot, I can take into account how much the wind is going to affect my ball, right? So this is kind of a bit of my second step. It's blended into one, which is, then what's the height on the shot that I want? What kind of shot am I trying to hit into this green? How much green do I have to work with? How far do I need to carry it in order to get it there? If I have a ton of green to work with and I'm okay with a little bit of ball rolling out when it lands, maybe I'll try to hit a low draw into the pin if the hole suits it, if the shot suits it. But if I have to, it's like 17 at Sawgrass where the pin's tucked right behind that pot bunker. I might have to hit a cut in there, but the wind's straight into my face. So I'm going to try to first commit to that shot. Then second, I will know that that's what I'm going to do and aim a little bit farther left because I need to kind of compensate for what the wind is going to do.
Yeah, you're ultimately aiming at the middle of the green in that scenario. Right. Because if you overcut it, then you're still on the green and you got an easy birdie putt. But if you just hit the shot you intend to hit, you're safe in the middle of the green.
Then
you putt par, get the hell out of there.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that all comes from just knowing what shot you want to hit. It seems simple. I mean, every single shot you're going to want to know what you want to do. With no wind or wind, it doesn't matter. But I think with wind, it's amplified by 10. You have to really understand what you want from the shot and then go get it. Because the wind will call you out.
And not be disappointed if you don't execute the shot that you wanted to, because it happens to the best of them. We've seen that they had 8 balls in the water on 17 today. It's going to happen.
I think let me take what you're saying further, because I love the kind of like your first 2 steps that you do. Like that's key. So like 1, what kind of shot am I going to play? 2, like how much is the wind going to affect my ball? And then like from there I can pick out where I'm going to aim. So that's key. I kind of want to dive a little bit more into how much the wind takes off of the ball. So let's go with our back to like a real course example. It's a par 3, 1 club wind into your face. I usually hit a 7-iron. Like if there was no wind, I would hit a 7-iron, and that would be pin high. So 1 club wind in my face. That means to get the ball to the hole, I'd have to hit a 6-iron perfectly, right? I'd have to hit a full 6-iron perfectly, and that would fly, with the wind to the hole. When I play in these windy conditions, I always 2 club up. If it's a 1 club wind, I still 2 club up. So I would hit 5-iron in this situation, and I would hit a smooth, like 3/4 swing 5-iron. That's only going to go as far as maybe a full 6-iron would go. And by doing that, by hitting that like controlled 3/4 swing 5-iron, it doesn't spin a lot. So it negates a lot of the negative effects of the wind.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden I'm in the middle of the green 2-putting. So
really quick.
I think that's key though.
Go ahead.
Taking the spin off, taking loft off your clubs, going from a 7-iron to a 5-iron, taking loft off your club also takes off spin.
It does.
So wedges have about 9,000 RPMs of spin, ideally. Drivers have 2,000 RPMs. That's a 7,000 RPM difference. So taking loft off takes off less, takes off spin, and therefore penetrates the wind a little bit better. So, and like that's what you said. So, and then even swinging softer takes off even more spin. So the more spin you can take off, the wind's gonna hold the ball up and get it to stop, regardless of what club you're hitting.
Yeah. So I'm not worried about like my 5-iron releasing through the green. Even with like wind in a normal situation, maybe it would, but with that. With the wind in my face, it's still going to stop it up, and I'm still going to be middle of the green.
And we're not playing rock hard greens like the PJ.
Right. We're up here in Michigan and Ohio. They usually are pretty soft, but
and I mean most any course you play is going to be soft. So
I have a follow-up question for Ferrara to continue the discussion. So I like that strategy. I'm actually going to apply that this season. I like that a lot. I've never thought about going up even more clubs and just taking off some distance. That's a great play. But what I've always struggled with here too, and this is part of why the wind has been a real challenge for me in my game especially, how do you pick that 1 club wind? How are you aware that it's a 1 club wind? How do you know when it's a 2 club wind and you should go up to 3 clubs? You know what I mean? That's a great question. Always been a really hard, just problem for me to solve. It's hard to identify when I need all that club.
I wish I could be like, when it's when it's blowing this hard and my beard is waving in the wind this much, but that's not the case. It's a feel thing. You gotta get the reps in with the wind. I
It's all experience.
But I also think that you figure it out through the round. So like maybe you got to use your best judgment. If it's into the wind, you're like, I think it's a 1 club wind, and then you got to like keep mental notes and like almost like data on what happened when you hit that. When you like, here's what I thought I did. Here's what I executed. Here's where the ball ended up. Okay, maybe it's playing a little bit more than a 1 club win. Maybe it's 1.5. Maybe it's 2 clubs. So I think good players will get better as the day goes on and the wind is like staying the same, because they will pick up and they'll adjust based on how the wind affected them on previous holes. So I think that's the best advice. I'm a grass thrower. I love the old, throw some grass clippings up and get the gauge. I'm always looking at
how does everybody read the wind?
Yeah.
So you got grass clippings.
I got grass. Yeah. What's another way?
My favorite, actually, I've started this in the past couple years, as weather dependent. I like to look at the clouds, because I think the clouds, unaffected by any trees or any mountains, especially where we are, it just shows you the general direction. And then if there's no clouds, flags, if you can find them, or tops of trees, I think is the best way.
That's I'm first off, good advice there. That makes sense that it's all feel based.
It's all.
I'm a big grass thrower here too, but I do think that I have kind of a fun way of identifying the wind every once in a while. If the wind is really blowing and it's maybe swirling or something like that, what's beautiful about trees is they're everywhere. So you can look at a tree, and on the right side of the let's say I'm just teeing off in a par 4 or something like that, and I'm surrounded by trees. What's interesting is trees have, they obviously live in 3D space, which is duh, but they have the top of the tree, which is going to be waving a little bit stronger than the bottom of the tree. So, let's say you're in a corridor type hole. You can get a lot of data from one tree. You can see where the wind is at, the baseline, like on the ground, or what's the wind doing at the top. But the other thing that's great about it too is there's trees ideally there's trees on either side. So if you're kind of feeling like the wind is swirling or it's moving, one way on the right of the hole, and it's moving, one way on the left, look at the trees on either side of the hole, and you can kind of build a mental map for where the wind is going. The trees on this side, none of the leaves are shiny on this tree, so the wind is clearly blowing straight into my face. But on this side of the hole, I can see all the leaves on this side, and they're really shiny, which means the wind is blowing away from me. So I kind of do that every once in a while. Maybe I do think I overthink the wind a little bit at sometimes, because I do that. But I think that's a really fun way of doing it, and it also tells you a lot. And once you get it down, you're going to get a lot of information from the trees. Yeah, just better hope there's a tree around you.
Yeah, I love that. I think you make a good point though. Like, you can overanalyze the wind, and what you have to do kind of goes back to your first point, Ben, is you have to commit to a shot, and you have to commit to a number, and it's just got to be your best judgment. And then like, if you think it's a 1 club wind, then play to 1 club wind. And if you execute that shot and the ball doesn't go where you want to, then you're like, okay, well, I was committed to a shot and I played that, and now I know it's not a 1 club win. It's a little less, or it's a little more, whatever it is. But committing to that shot, you got to use your best judgment with the data you have available to you, right? So I like that.
You're not allowed to bring a win stick out there. And making all these calculations down on your book, right?
It's exactly 2 mile an hour wind.
So two more points I would like to add. One is also, I think we mentioned this too, is the course map. Most scorecards have a course map on the back of the scorecard, or somewhere they have a yardage book with a course map, something like that. If you have that information, write down the dominant direction of the wind on the scorecard.
Yeah, so over all the holes in the hole.
So when you step up to a hole, it's blowing, it's going left to right downwind on this hole, or it's into off the right. Like, predominant direction of the wind. But also, like you mentioned, the shoot too. And this is especially when you play kind of in the Midwest or the Northeast, where there's a lot of trees. You get into these situations where you're tree line fairway or something, and it blocks the wind, so you can't tell where the wind is. And also, this creates a situation where it helps to look at the top of the trees, because that's where the wind is predominantly blowing. It's not creating any different directions based on the trees. And also, what happens with these trees too is it splits the wind, so it'll be swirling down below you. So it may the ball may be pushed one direction, but once it gets above the tree line, it could go the opposite direction.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So it's definitely to keep in mind kind of where you are in relations to trees, tall objects, hills, anything like that, because it could definitely affect it. Like we have one hole at my home course. It's a par 3, and there's this, and it's surrounded by trees. The kind of the general course knowledge is you look at the giant flagpole, a big American flag by the clubhouse that you can kind of see from the back tee box. Now, there's this giant corridor of a stream with trees on either side, so it creates this huge like
wind tunnel
channel of wind across the hole. So even if you're downwind, it's still going to get pushed one way or the other because of this giant channel. So you just have to know stuff like that, and you have to recognize it when you're playing.
Yep.
And I think that's really important when trying to read the wind, because it's not always just one direction.
No, I think.
Yeah, and I'll really quick. I'll read
real quick before I get to you.
Yeah,
sorry, I was.
You're fine. I'm gonna echo a point as well. So go ahead.
The course map, like what an awesome piece of advice. And like if anyone, if you guys can take one point away from this podcast, I think that's a really, really awesome idea. Almost every scorecard has a course map, and just drawing the predominant direction of wind on there and referring back to that as you get to each hole is really, really, really an awesome little hack.
Yeah, I was gonna re-bring up my tree reading technique there for Max, kind of wind tunnel hole design. It definitely matters what hole you're on and what type of where the wind is going and all this, but in order to get a better idea of, kind of that swirling wind near the ground on some of those kind of wind tunnel-esque holes, that's where the trees for me really come into play. And I just wanted to show that that's a perfect example of when you could use that strategy. That it is like the ideal time, especially if it's one of your first holes and you haven't had a lot of, experience with the wind yet in that round. Take a look at the trees around you, see what's going on. That also goes back to the point for why I love golf. You're one with nature when you're out there, but it is true that, look around you, use your surroundings to kind of help you out. And there's a lot of data there that you can gather and use to hit a better shot.
And I'm gonna throw up one more hypothetical. Run out of time a little bit, but I definitely love this one. It's like a Plato thought experiment.
Oh, I like it.
Right?
Hit me.
You have a 100-yard wedge shot.
Oh, okay.
Straight up, it's 100 yards, no elevation change. But
I love this number.
You're downwind. What do you do?
Can I ask one extra question? Where's the pin? Where's the pin? Front, middle, back?
Middle pin.
Middle pin. Okay.
Equal distance to the back and to the front from the pin.
I think you got to go off of Ben's kind of 3-step process here. It's like, one, what shot am I trying to hit? What number am I committing to first?
What would you do?
Let's just say
run through it in your game.
Yep. We're gonna commit to 90 yards, let's just say. I also know that downwind, the ball might release a little bit more when it lands on the green, a little less spin on it. So I might take that into effect too. And I might be like, okay, I'm not trying to land this ball at 90 because that'll leave me pin high. I might try to land this one towards the front of the green. So that might be like an 85 number. And then I would commit to an 85 number, commit to where I want to land that on the green and how the wind's going to affect my ball, like Ben said, step 2, and whack away, man. I'd probably make birdie.
That's a good play. I'm in a little bit of a different scenario because 100 is kind of like 3/4 of a 56 for me. So, my 56 goes 120. So it's kind of like a, yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Massive 56 for me. But, so I would say, those are some important questions. Like you got to know what you're going to do, but what type of shot do you want? All those same rules. But what comes into play for me there, I think is that second step of like, what type of shot am I trying to hit with where the wind is going? Because the other thing is too, my wedges are incredibly spinny, if not more spinny than every other club in my bag. So the wind is going to really affect my ball. And everybody knows if you hit a wedge a million times, it's impossible to hit it low. You could try, but you're not really hitting it that low.
Yeah.
So with the wind behind me, Like if it's directly behind me, I'm playing, 80-yard shot mostly, but also that goes hand in hand with a little bit of my feel. I naturally will hit a little bit farther because of the wind. So I'm going to think to myself, I'm hitting an 80-yard shot, and just try to smooth one in there. But if the wind is coming off of either one of my shoulders and it's kind of swirling a little bit, or if it's got one clear direction straight, right to left or left to right, then my thought process changes drastically, because now I have to really take into account what the wind is going to do to the ball when it's in the air. And if I'm not careful, basically what I'm saying is, if the wind is coming off of some direction, my first thought is not the distance. My first thought is, what is the ball going to do when it gets into the air? Because it's very easy for me to lose a wedge way out to the right if the wind is left to right. So the question does change. That second step in that process does change a little bit depending on how confident I'm feeling over top of the ball, situational, what distance I have and everything. So
I would say that confidence also, I mean, that just translates across the whole game too, is like, how confident am I feeling that day? What shots can I produce consistently? That's what I'm going to go with. So.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things to think about, but you're right.
There's too many variables in golf, man.
All right, I'm done. I'm done.
Podcast is over. I quit.
But you're right. I mean, if you've been, fanning your wedges out to the right all day, then you might think about hitting some different type of shot in there. Yeah. So, or you might, just ease off a little bit, go up a club and just hit that one 80 yards if it's a more confident club. So there's a bit to think about, but the key is to consolidate all the information properly.
I actually have kind of a against the grain. Every time we talk about something, I always feel like I'm going against the grain.
It's good. We need a devil's advocate.
Yeah, there we go. We need different viewpoints. That's what this is all about, having three people.
Yeah.
But 100-yard shot downwind, I actually like to hit it lower. I know I said hit it higher because the ball won't go as far, but I like to hit it lower. And when you're within that distance, it doesn't really matter that much.
Yep.
And the reason I actually like to hit it lower is because the wind does not affect it as much, and especially like into the wind too. I like to hit low penetrating wedges. You'll get a little bit more spin sometimes, usually. You get a little bit more nippers, so I don't have to take as much of the wind into account. I can be a little bit more precise, I feel like. So like 100 yards downwind, I may play it 80 or 90 yards, land at 95 because I'm hitting it lower. It's going to land, jump once and stop. That's kind of like
my thought process there. The variable, just you minimize the wind variable by hitting it lower.
Yeah.
Even if it's downwind, it's kind of counterintuitive downwind, but it makes sense.
And that's true about most golf too. Is you want, and like literally like we just said, there's too many variables in golf. The goal in golf is to eliminate as many variables as you can, and that's why everybody works on their swing so much. Is that you want that to be one constant variable, but eliminate as many variables as you can to shoot the best score possible.
Yeah,
I will also say
put it in the header.
Clip it.
Yeah, I will also say that hitting like a lower shot is really nice for consistency on wedges too. So that's a good combo. Mac, you're traditionally very yippy. So you probably actually
naturally throw my dirty laundry out there full time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be open. I'm terrible with my irons, so I gotta get you where you're at. But I will say, like,
find me in the fairway.
You probably naturally gravitated toward a lower shot just because it's way more consistent. It's easier to hit. It takes the wind variables out of play, and it'll 1-2 and spin and just stop right next to the hole, which you are pretty good at. So there you go. I'll hype you up at the end there.
I appreciate it.
It always comes full circle. Come on.
we all love at the tips.
Yeah. It's all love. It's all love at the back.
It's a little bit of harsh love, but it's all love in the end.
Hey, it's all to get better, all to find that perfect golf game. So, yeah. Any closing thoughts on the
when it's breezy, swing easy, baby.
Yeah. My JV coach used to tell me that. Coach Ted, he was like 85. He'd be like, "Hey, when it's breezy, swing easy." I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna swing as hard as I can."
Yeah, exactly. It never worked. It never worked. It never helped me. Not once did it ever help.
This guy doesn't know anything.
I'm swinging out of my shoes, baby. 320.
If only I could go back to my 15-year-old self.
Yeah, right.
Well,
but
yeah. Hey, enjoyed chatting with you guys. Thanks for listening in to the
always.
third episode of Tip It Out. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Tip It Out Golf.
Like, comment,
Yeah.
subscribe, download the podcast.
Drop us a comment. Let us know
Hey,
how many
add us
times
to
I
Twitter.
said like or
Hey, actually, shoot us a tweet on at Twitter. I would love to hear how you guys love play shots into the wind, how you like to decide what kind of wind. Like, the more the merrier, because I think we just want to be a well of knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely.
For any golfer trying to get better.
Yeah, that'd be really cool if we were able to start a little thread and get some replies and get some other input on it. I mean, that'd be sweet. I'm curious to see what other people do too. I know what works for me, but what works for one might not work for many. So I'm curious to see what other people have to say. That'd be sweet.
And I'd like to add one more thing, actually, real quick. Valspar next week. Love the Copperhead course. Fun little snake pit. And I was taking a little sneak peek, little preview at the field. A lot of big names: Jordan, Justin,
sweet.
A few others. Yeah, a few others. But also keep an eye out. Ludwig Aberg, big number one amateur.
Back?
Cole Hammer's in the field. Few Pearson Cootie's back.
Some young guys.
A lot of young guns.
Young
guys who are going to be shaking up the PGA Tour in the coming years. So we think. So definitely a tournament to watch. Just because it doesn't have all the big names, it's definitely still a lot of good players, and it'll be a really good watch.
That's awesome. Looking forward to it. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Yeah, cheers.